Arizona State and UCF may be new conference opponents, but their head coaches are very familiar with each other. Kenny Dillingham was Gus Malzahn's offensive coordinator at Auburn in 2019. And the two of them learned a lot from each other on the field, but perhaps the biggest lesson that Dillingham learned from Malzahn was off the field.
I really thought the Leadership Council, when we were at Auburn together, or I guess when I was at Auburn with him, right? He was the head coach. When I was at Auburn with him, I really felt like every time he left that Leadership Council meeting, he had a much better beat on the football team. You know, sometimes when you're a head coach, you can kind of lose a beat on your team at times. And I thought that council did a really good job for him at the time, saying, hey, our guys are beat up. We need to slow it down a little bit. Or, hey, this kid needs to be loved up. Hey, you can't yell at this guy or get on this guy again like he's going through some things. Once I got to a point where I could really be on the inner conversations of how things worked, I'd never been on a staff that did that. And I thought it was really, really good, and it's something that I knew I always wanted to do.
So, first of all, he has a dynamic personality, and he's an extremely hard worker. He was a smart guy. The year he was with me, he helped me out a whole lot. He knows football. He can relate to players. He's got all the attributes to being a really good coach. So it doesn't surprise me at all that he's got that thing going like he does, and got some good coaching staff around him.
Especially when they play a game where the game's basically over at halftime. And it's like, okay, well, what were they trying to actually do in the game? You don't know, because they only played really a half of football from that perspective. So very difficult. You're kind of going in blind to any rhythm of a play caller on both sides of the ball. You don't have a rhythm for either of the guys. You hope that they keep some trends the same. You hope that they don't come out and have their own flair, or you have to be ready for their own flair, and you have to dig back into their history and say, okay, this guy's going to go outside of, maybe the comfort zone of the last coordinator, the last play caller. What were his go-tos that he would be the first thing he'd put in? So you got to do a little bit of digging into the history. And I alluded to it earlier, Addison Williams, I worked with at Auburn with Gus. He actually worked on the offensive side of the ball. Me and him worked hand in hand. We were partners in crime over there all the time together. So he's been in the quarterback room before. He's been in my quarterback room before. We've been in it together. We worked on game plans together. I mean, we were very close. And now he's on the defensive side of the ball, right? And then we have Coach Gibbs, who was on their defensive staff, who's now on the offensive side of the ball. So it's kind of funny that, I kind of took that model from Gus, another thing you had of having a defensive guy on that offensive side of the ball, which is a trend in the NFL now anyways. But so I'm excited. Addison's a phenomenal football coach. I firmly believe that. I think he's a head coach in the making over there. He's phenomenal. His family's awesome. He's a great person. He's a really good coach. He's super intelligent. He's going to have some things for us that we got to be ready for.